Welcome back, everyone, to the Money Master HQ podcast, where we simplify your finances and amplify your growth. As you probably know by now, I'm your host, Shihan Sheriff. Today, we've got a truly special guest joining us, Mariana Marques da Cunha. She's the Chief Operating Officer at a high frequency trading firm operating globally from Chicago. And Mariana is also an international tax expert, a legal powerhouse, and a mission driven entrepreneur who's deeply committed to social impact, which we'll find out in a few minutes. From leading cross-border tax strategy at Ernst & Young to founding Project Opens, a platform for self-development and healing, Mariana's journey is nothing short of inspiring. Mariana, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. I'm great. How are you?
All good, all good. Thanks. It's great to have you on this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Mariana, before we dive into the big stuff or the serious stuff, right? If tomorrow morning you woke up with a superpower that made you ultra effective at work or home, what would it be?
My superpower. I think my superpower would be teamwork. Um, the Recently I've had a chance to reconnect with many people who have worked with me throughout my 30 plus years of career, and I was truly grateful and amazed by the amount of influence, positive influence that I've had on the lives and careers of so many people. So I think my superpower is teamwork. I'm really a person that does not believe in a solo journey. I believe if you want to do something great, you need to join forces uh, with people who feel the same way. So I think looking back on my track, it's just a lot of positive feedback from people who are today professionals at a high level as well, and they all seem to have learned a little bit from me and enjoyed working with me and mirrored my steps. And I am really honored to have served as mentor to so many people. So yeah, my superpower is teamwork. Definitely.
Awesome. Excellent. We live in a world where things aren't great in certain aspects. So, yeah, teamwork is the way. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Let's get into a discussion about yourself, how you began your professional journey as an attorney in Brazil and then moved through top firms, like I mentioned, Ernst & Young, Deloitte. You've worked in New York and Houston, and now you lead the operations at a leading trading firm in Chicago. Would you mind talking about your journey?
Sure. I started in this tax world really young by influence of my father. So I've always wanted to do law. I've always liked to study and discuss and analyze what's right, what's wrong, and I didn't want the public career like many people do to become a judge or anything like that. So I asked my father, what else could I do in this area uh, that I could work with, and he had come from a consulting firm. So he told me go to one of the big four. So that's what I did. I took the test. I applied as a trainee, and I've made my journey from trainee to partner in big four accounting firms. And I believe I got lucky in a way that I was there when Brazil was going through substantial transformation. First, the privatization of of the energy companies. Then, a decade later, the opening of the oil and gas area in Brazil. So, I mean, of course, if you consider that luck is when opportunity meets someone who is prepared, that's how I got lucky. When the opportunity came, Brazil was going through transformation. I was prepared to take the lead. So I had a chance to work 2 years in New York back in the 90s. Um, I had a chance to sit for the New York bar exam, which I took in year 2000, so a long time ago. And then I got the chance later on, 10 years later, to come again to the US, to Houston, and work with oil and gas. So my career has been uh, successful, and I think I was able to do things that were not very ordinary at the time. Uh, I had Deloitte, which was my first Big Four, pay for my master's at NYU in international taxation. So I think I've always had the drive to try difficult things and not think too much about what could go wrong. I always had this thought: if it can be done, then I can do it. And I just gave 100% of myself in whatever I did to be able to always be a step ahead of what was ordinary at the time. Does that answer your question?
Of course it
Kind of.
does. Of course it does. What would you advise any young finance professional in terms of that starting point? Do you think that it really laid the foundation for you starting off at one of the big four firms?
For sure, it's a very rapid learning curve because it gives you exposure to so many different companies in a very short time. So for sure, you learn a lot in a short time. So I would advise that a big four um is a great way to start. Is a great training field. I remember my father telling me in the beginning that I should be paying them to be working there rather than they be paying me, because I knew nothing. I had a chance to learn. So I always had this view of, okay, this is an opportunity to learn. I didn't mind the long hours because some people have the view, oh, they're exploiting me. It's too many hours. It's weekends. That's not what I'm paid for. Blah blah blah. Or you can take the view, this is really an opportunity. This is really an opportunity to learn and to grow. And also I take that back to my father, always putting those kind of thoughts in my head. So I was always grateful for what I was doing and for the chance that I was having to learn. I'll give you an example. Like when I was a trainee back in the day, we used to have Xerox machines, and working papers were really like paper copies of stuff. And I remember feeling very proud that I could operate every Xerox machine ever made by Xerox. I mean, I was a trainee. I wasn't doing much. I was basically taking copies and doing very easy work. But still, I took pride in what I did. So I think the mindset is definitely very important. It's not only go to a big four, but it's go to a big four with a growing mindset, and then your career will grow very rapidly.
Spot on. So the faster you learn, the faster you grow, isn't it?
Absolutely. And also don't settle at average. Don't look at what the person is doing next to you and just be happy doing the same. um, I think that's also very important. Back I was transferred to New York in 1997. I never met anybody. Actually, I was the first Brazil tax transfer abroad. They used to transfer audit people because accounting principles are kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say they're the same, but they're pretty similar regardless of where you are in the world. But tax laws are different. So I was the first tax professional to have an experience abroad with Deloitte at the time. So that wasn't something that came because I was looking at my peers. It was something that came because I was really aiming for something extraordinary. So I had to build my way there. Yeah.
Got you. From my research, I understand that you've got dual admission as a lawyer in both Brazil and New York, and also an LLM in international taxation, Mariana. So, how did your legal expertise help you transition into operations and trading in a high frequency trading firm?
Yeah, I think the legal background is everything, because the way you negotiate contracts, the way you approach a vendor, the way um, you write your contractual structure, even on employees or independent contractors. I mean, everything touches the legal part. So if you have a legal background, I think you add value not only, you know, on the legal department itself, but you look at everything through a filter that is always measuring risk and taking care of risk and thinking ahead of what can go right, what can go wrong, and preparing for those things. So I think it's very. I mean, the legal background. I think it has helped me a lot. And as a matter of fact, this is a funny story because I took the New York bar before I took the Brazilian bar. As I didn't need a license in Brazil to work for a Big Four, I never I never took the time to really take the exam. And then when I was in New York, that I had a chance to take it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it now. If I don't do it now, it's gonna be like now or never. So I took it in New York. I passed it in New York first, and then when I went back to Brazil, I was like, okay, now I have to do this in Brazil as well. I mean, it's ridiculous that I'm not a lawyer in my own country. So I took the bar in Brazil later, and I passed it as well. And it's interesting. It's two very different legal systems, civil law and common law. Um, but I mean, for companies that work around the globe, and of course, Brazil has a lot of inflow from the U.S. I think it's important to know both perspectives, and that knowledge has helped a lot. Not only in I think specific situations, but also, as I said, as a lens or as a filter through which you look at everything that you do. So yeah, so I think the legal background is definitely something that has helped my career, both as a tax professional and also as COO.
That's interesting how you became a lawyer first in New York and then in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
That leads me to my next question, Mariana. So you've built your career across borders and sectors. Now, if we talk about what were some of your biggest leadership challenges when scaling into some of these new markets, what would you name?
My leadership challenges. I think a tough challenge is when you work with people who are in different times of their career, in different moments of their career, because it's not easy to get alignment on a team where people don't necessarily want the same thing or have the same dedication to give or the same effort to give. Uh, so I think that has been one of the biggest challenges, because we don't of course we need the experience of everyone, but conflicts arise when that blame game starts, just because not everyone is on the same page in terms of where they are in their career, and the work we do, we depend on everyone's contribution. So it doesn't matter if I do a great job. If you don't do your part, we're not going to succeed. And sometimes you're just not there. Your mind is not there, your heart is not there, your effort is not there. So I think this has been the biggest challenge. It's to work with people who are in different moments in their careers.
That's so true. And that ties into what you mentioned right at the beginning about teamwork as well.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Moving on to my next question. So, being the COO of a global high frequency scale firm, how do you balance cutting edge tech, compliance, and risk, which mostly happens in real time?
Um, okay, well, the first thing I do is, even though I am not a technical person, I am not an engineer, I'm not a software developer, I I make sure that I participate enough to understand what's going on. So I think, as COO, how can I measure risk? How can I decide or help the company decide on risk if I don't understand the technicalities of the project and what could go wrong and when? So I think the intersection between compliance, risk, and technology is making sure you are close enough to the team, to the work. And again, going back to teamwork, you're close enough that they make a huge effort to explain to somebody who is not a technical person what's going on, what the issues are, what the plan is, what the next step is, what the challenge is. And I've had I've learned to do that over the years. And so I think that's how it's balanced. It's not being away from what's not comfortable. I want to learn. I always tell them, try again. I didn't understand. Find a metaphor that I can understand what you're talking about. And they do. So I love to work with those engineers who who guide me through the technical aspects of what we do, and make sure I understand, um, so that we can have this balance between compliance and risk and technology.
Thanks for sharing that. Moving on to my next question, Mariana. Could you tell us about a time where you had to pivot a major strategy? And basically, what was at stake? How did you lead your team through it? And how did you overcome those obstacles?
Okay, I am going to talk about a case. It was a case of tax litigation, not with my current employer. That's back in the past, but I was so proud of that project. So I'm gonna talk about that one. It was a structure, a tax structure in the industry that was standard. So almost every company was doing that, thinking it was safe, and it was a cross-border structure. What happens is that eventually, tax authorities pick it up, and they started auditing and assessing all of those companies. Like, the entire industry was being assessed with the same arguments, with the same fact pattern, with the same uh, structure. And they were being assessed with the increased penalty of 150%, because tax authorities were claiming an evident intent of fraud. So this was huge in the oil and gas industry some years ago in Brazil. And I was in Norway. I was doing a presentation in Bergen, oil and gas as well, oil and gas related. And in the end of my presentation, one company came to me and they said, we have that exact problem. We were assessed the multi-millions of dollars of assessment, 150% penalty. And the person who was there was like, can you help us? And I said, sure, I can. So they engaged EY. They engaged me. And I went back to Brazil. I went to their operations, which were in Macaé, which is the coastal city outside of Rio. It's like, it's where the operations are, where oil and gas is. So I went there, And I don't remember how much time I spent there, but maybe a week working with the controller to understand exactly the facts, to defend something that was being massively attacked by tax authorities. But I wanted to give, in our defense, I wanted to give the facts to prove that our case was different than everybody else's. And I succeeded in that in the first instance. Like in Brazil, it's very hard for the first instance judge cancel a tax assessment, especially if it's a tax assessment in which fraud was claimed by the authorities. So usually the first level of litigation is just the confirmation of the assessment, and then you have to go to the second level of litigation. But I was with a team there, we worked so hard on getting the facts and building a strategy and a defense. We worked so hard and so intelligently that we were able to say, okay, this looks the same as everybody else, but it's not. Look at my facts. And we were able to cancel the tax assessment in the first level of litigation. And then the client was really happy. They never had to pay a dime on that assessment. And I think that was a project that I will never forget. I was really proud.
Not just the client, but I can imagine you must have been over the moon as well, achieving that
Yeah, I was
result
over.
for your
Yeah,
client.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I was over the moon. One of these days, I spoke to the person who was with me there. Like she was my junior, and she said, "I've never. I mean, this was one of the biggest projects of my career. I learned so much from you in that particular project." And yeah, so teamwork. Back to teamwork.
Wow, amazing. Moving on to another segment in our podcast, Mariana. Now, aside from all this serious work, you've also created a lot of social impact as well as you focus on your own personal growth. How do you go about it, and what are some of the initiatives in this space that you've initiated?
Okay. On that one, I don't even know from where to start. Um, Big Four, and I mean, I think it's not only Big Four, but Big Four certainly. Like the demand of effort, hours, focus, blah blah blah. It takes a high toll on your personal life. So what was happening in my life was that I was having all of this success professionally, and my personal life was really a mess. My marriage wasn't working. My baby knew more the nanny than he knew me. I would have to, I was absent in my family life. That's how I resigned from all of that. And I said, this is not right. This is not the way to live. I've always been in favor of discussing like initiatives to retain women and to advance women. This has been a topic forever. Like when I was promoted partner, less than 10% of partners were women, just because at some point in life, it just doesn't make sense for them anymore. If they don't find a way to combine a professional career with a personal life, motherhood, being a wife, having time for herself. I remember one year going to the partners dinner in Rio. I was the only female partner. And all of my male partners, you know, their beautiful wives having gone to the salon and with their hair done and everything. And I looked like crap. I had gone straight from the office. I was late. I had gone straight to the office. I had my office clothes. I didn't have time to put any makeup on. And then I arrived there and I said, wow, it's like, man, I wish I had some of that too. It's like, why can't I just, I mean, why do I have to be carrying this heavy load all the time? I wanted to go to the salon to get my hair done, to go to the gym, to do all those things. So personal development for me was almost survival because I needed to find a way to make my personal life work and understand why it wasn't working, understand what years and years of pressure and deadlines and goals, what they do to a person, particularly to a woman. So personal development was it was a cry for help, and in the end it ended up being a bridge um, to what I believe everyone should understand. I think companies would be much better if they understood more of the human side of things. So this platform led me uh, to being a co-founder of this other institute that I am also so proud of. I worked as a volunteer for 2 years. I was a co-founder, and we would take people who had uh, basically sexual trauma in their lives, and we would work with them uh, uh, to restore their self-confidence, their perspectives on life, and to reframe those episodes, like reframe the memories. So I did some amazing work with Richard Bandler and Michael Grinder, nonverbal communication, uh, neuro programming. I did so much of that, and those 2 years of my social work um, connected me even more to the human aspect of things, which I believe is crucial. I mean, I know everyone is talking about AI and AI, substituting people and blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I understand I mean, a lot of it will happen. But in the end, companies will always be managed by people. And if people don't understand other people, then I think decisions are not as great as they could be. I have a mentor in my life, retired General Ray Jones from the U.S. Air Force, a great, good friend of mine, a great person. And he taught me something I will never forget. He said to me, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So I take that as a lesson for life, and I never forget that because that's absolutely true. I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. So social work, human development, I think they should be things that should be mandatory to every high level professional, because just as they can improve the lives of people, they can also hurt a lot of people if they're not
So,
aware of what they're doing. Sorry, I spoke too much about that.
not at all. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for giving back in a big way back to the community and to society. I think you're doing some amazing work, Mariana. Really helps out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, now I'm a volunteer at Lasagna Love. I'm cooking lasagnas and distributing lasagnas in South
Oh,
Florida as well.
that's nice. Now, I've got a few more questions. Now, having been involved in this many initiatives, being a CEO, COO rather, in your company, how difficult is it to manage your personal life, your family, your children? How do you go about it? It's
Um,
challenging, isn't it?
um, I think first of all, it has to be uh, talked to and aligned with everybody. It's like it's not a role that is only mine. Before I accepted, I spoke with my husband. I spoke with my son, and it's like this is what's gonna be. This is how it's gonna be like. I'm gonna be present for this. I'm gonna be absent for that, so that expectations are aligned among them all. So I think that conversation is very important. They cannot think that this is a me alone thing. No, this is a family decision. It's going to impact everyone. Um, I think also that when you take a role, you have to make sure you're happy with what you're doing, where you are, how you're living, and this is one of the things where I made a recent shift. I was in Chicago. I wasn't happy in Chicago. Too cold for me. Very isolated, and I just moved to Miami. So in the end, all you have is one life. So I think it's fair that you spend a number of years building something and making an effort, but in the end, all you have is one life. So it doesn't make sense to be in a horrible job or a horrible location or a horrible environment because you're not going to be able to be the best professional you can be. So I think those things are important to keep in mind. People are afraid of transitions. Mostly, I mean, people like to feel safe, although they never are. But there's this false sense of safety, and I mean, I've taken enough risk in my life to really believe, you know what, if it's not making you happy, just don't stay. Just change whatever you need to change, be it the location or the company or the team or the department, but don't stay in something that doesn't make you happy. So I think that's the two things that I believe are important. First is make sure that this is a family decision, and then making sure that it's working for you. And if it's not working, just have the courage to change.
I'm sure our listeners will really value those two pieces of advice that you just shared because it's so valuable. I mean, it's not something that everyone has conversations with their family, right? So, and as you just pointed out, I think it's really important to set those expectations up front. And when you do, there are there's less conflict, there's clear communication, there are clear expectations. So yeah, that's so very true.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the final segment of the podcast, Mariana. I'll just ask you a few quick questions. So, if I'm to ask you who have been some of your biggest mentors in your life, who would you name?
Oh, I already mentioned one, General Ray Jones. Uh, I think he's probably the biggest leader I know. um, I've done a lot of Tony Robbins. I was a platinum partner, so I've been with Tony Robbins in a number of occasions. I've studied his content. I've been on his trips. I am part of his community. So I think he has influenced me a lot, not only with his own teachings, but also giving me access to these other names that were also really important. I'll give you another name, Brian Main. He's not a very famous person in Brazil. I don't know if he's big in the U.S., but he has something that is called goal mapping that also gave me a very clear view of what it is that I wanted, what it is that would make me happy, um, and helped me navigate uh, this decisions that I had to make throughout my life. So I would say Brian Main is also a mentor. Back in Brazil, I have the CEO of Deloitte as a great friend and mentor. He just retired now. His name is Altair Rosato. So very successful, good person, down to earth, fair, loved by his people. Um, and of course, my father. I still go back to my father to ask, uh, or to at least present things so that we can discuss. Now, not necessarily I will follow his advice, but I never do something where I don't share with him what's happening and what I'm thinking about doing. So my father has also been a great mentor throughout my career. Let me think if there's any. I think yeah. I think those are the names that I have to share. And now I just realized that I don't have a woman as a mentor. Look at how strange that is. I mean, I think I don't know personally a woman that has shown me has shown me the way of how to balance professional success and life. To be honest, I'm remembering one incident where I was invited for a women's partner dinner. Uh, we had the lead of tax for the Americas was a woman. I don't know if she's still on that role, probably not. But we were 9 women in that table. That's many years ago, and I remember looking at each one of them, and thinking to myself, this is not where I would want to be. Like, I think out of the 9, 7 were divorced and with no children. And I think that scared me a lot. That's back in when I was struggling with my personal versus career life. I remember that episode also was a huge wake up call of what I was becoming. And I didn't like the models that I had. So yeah, I need to find myself a woman as a mentor. Yeah, I don't have one.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
One common mentor is Tony Robbins. He's influenced my life a lot as well. I've taken all of his courses, all of his
Oh,
courses.
really?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's incredible. So glad to hear that there's someone else on the other side who's been influenced by him as well. Just another question, Mariana. In fact, I've got a few more and then we wrap up. What are some of the books that you recommend anyone reading, and some of the best books that you've read, if you're a reader?
Oh, I am a reader. I am definitely a reader. For years, I didn't have a TV. I would read every night. Um, so you could have asked me that before, so I would bring a list.
No issues. I
If
mean,
I
it's better spontaneous. So yeah.
No, it's because some of those books I read in Portuguese. So I don't know like how the titles are translated in to English.
Okay.
But yeah, but a lot of the recent books also I've been reading are all in human development. So all of those, The Power of Now, um that other one, what is it called? I'm not going to remember the titles by heart.
So more
Um
on personal development side of things.
Personal development. I've read many. On relationships, I've read many. Oh, The Queen's Code. I love that book for women. Um, uh, I've read John Gottman's work. I've read The Power of Persuasion. I've read Charisma by Michael Grinder. Um, before this self-development, I liked like Gabriel Garcia Marquez and José Saramago. I mean, all of those. I've read the entire collection of a Brazilian writer, Jorge Amado. In my opinion, the best in the world. I've read Paulo Coelho's books. The Alchemist is a great book. Um, but yeah, so I can send you a list, and then you can share with with your audience. But
Yeah, that will be great.
I
We
am a huge
can.
reader. I love it. Right now, I'm reading a book by a lady, a grandmother who walked the Appalachian Trail. One day, she told her children, "I'm going for a walk," and she walked like for I don't I'm in the middle of the book. I haven't finished, so but I know she walked the entire trail. So I thought it was an interesting story. So I'm reading that right now. I also recently read The Ballerina of Auschwitz, the story of the lady, she's still alive, who survived Auschwitz. Uh, but again, Dr. Edith, I don't remember her last name. Yeah, I'm a big reader. I love to read.
Glad to hear that. So, thanks for sharing that. And we can attach the list of books along with the show notes for any listener to reference them, take a look, and maybe start reading them.
Yeah, I promise you that. Yeah.
Just coming to the end of our podcast, Mariana, one before the last question is now, if you want to think about a legacy that you really want to leave behind in whether it's business, whether it's community, what really do you hope people remember the most about you or your impact that you want to leave behind?
I think legacy is important, really important. I believe everyone touches the lives of others, and that's either in a positive or a negative way. I think there's only two choices. You know, people are either a blessing or a lesson. And the legacy I'm hoping to leave is being a positive impact on people, either a helping hand or a listener or a mentor or somebody who was fair and just and honest and transparent. And when people remember me, I would like it to be in a positive light. So I truly think that people are either a lesson or a blessing. So I want to be a blessing. I don't want to be a lesson on anybody's life. So we don't realize how we touch people if we're not really paying attention, but we are, whether we want it or not, whether it's conscious or not. So I think I am very aware of that now. I mean, I wasn't always, and the legacy is that I want to be a positive legacy, a positive influence on people who have crossed my path, either in my personal life or my professional life. Doesn't matter.
Some very powerful thoughts there. Thank you, Mariana. This has been an absolute pleasure interviewing you. Now, if any of our listeners want to get in touch with you or follow you, what are your social media handles? How can they get in touch with you?
Okay, well, I am on LinkedIn, of course. So LinkedIn is a professional platform that I wasn't very active, but I am active again on it. I think I ignored it for years, but not anymore. So my LinkedIn is my full name, Mariana Marques da Cunha, and then on that the www, it's LinkedIn.
Don't
If
worry about that. I'll share it. It will be shared along with the show notes and just
ah
this video.
okay.
So yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I have a personal Instagram. It's Repense Você. It's REPENSE .VOCE. But that's personal. So one it's open, it's public, but it's personal. Um and Facebook, I don't really use Facebook anymore. So I think Instagram and LinkedIn are the two platforms where I'm more active currently.
sure. Thanks for sharing that. So, Mariana, thank you very much for sharing your story. It's been insightful, inspiring, and also deeply moving in certain instances that you mentioned. Now, to close, what final advice would you give listeners, and especially those navigating careers between law, finance, leadership, and purpose?
Well, I think I'll say the same. I always tell my son, which is there's no right or best um, career or course or major, or you can be great in whatever you do. So you don't need a specific title or a specific school or a specific CV or a specific experience to be great. So whatever it is you decide to do, if you give your 100%, if you have this thought that I've always had, if it can be done, I can do it, and give your 100%, you're going to succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. And if you don't the first time, then you try again and you don't give up and you look at your failure and you improve and you change and you keep going until it works. I think that's because sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, I don't have the best education, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I'm too this, I'm too that, so I'm not even going to try. It's like, no, go for it. There's no perfect recipe. Just go for it. And I think don't look at your peers, don't look at your side and think that this is your maximum. That's you can go much beyond what people next to you are going. That it's very true. If you are the smartest person on the table, you are on the wrong table. That's very true. Like aim for higher, try more, and if you fail, that's fine. Take the risk. If you fail, okay, try again if you want, or maybe do something else, but don't settle for average. So this is what I tell my son is like, don't settle for average. Don't look at your peers and think it's good enough. Just do your best. If this is your best, fine, but if it's not your best, then you have to do your best.
For a
So yeah,
moment, I
I think this is this is what I would say. That there's no excuse. There's no excuses not to try something spectacular. There's no right recipe. There's no one perfect qualification or formula or school. I think everybody can do it if they try.
Exactly. For a moment, I thought I was listening to Tony Robbins because it was so inspiring, those words that you just mentioned at the end there. Thank you very much, Mariana, once again. And to all our listeners and audience, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you enjoyed this session as much as I did interviewing Mariana. Please follow Mariana's work. She's doing some incredible work in this space, both in tax as well as in giving back to the society. So thank you very much, Mariana, and I wish you all the very best. I hope things go really well with all your future ambitions and plans that you want to achieve in life. And also, it's up to us, in your own words, whether we want to be a lesson for the others or whether we want to be a blessing. So, yeah, I just took that as a takeaway from this podcast. So, thank you very much, Mariana. And to all our listeners, I hope you subscribe to the Money Master HQ podcast, expecting your honest review. And also, if you could please share it with your network, it will be really appreciated. And until the next time, I'm Shihan Sheriff. Stay inspired and keep growing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariana.
Bye-bye.